Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio, your global feel-good radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletters so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Now, we have a very special guest for you today. Johann Ilgenfritz is the founder and the CEO of UK Health Radio. Johann Ilgenfritz is the reason that every week we can bring you wonderful information about natural healing from guests from all over the world to really inspire you. And this is all due to Johann Ilgenfritz and his wonderful work. You can find out more about Johann Ilgenfritz and his wonderful work at ukhealthradio.com. And also while you're there, check out the magazine that we produce. It's Health Triangle Magazine, and you can go find that and read it for free when you visit ukhealthradio.com. Welcome, Johann Ilgenfritz.
Hello, Catherine. Lovely to be here with you. Thank you so much for the invitation.
And, we're going to share so much about your knowledge and your personal experience. So here we are at the Natural Healing Show, and many people would like to understand changes in their own bodies that might indicate they need to visit a doctor. So those of us who are regular listeners to the Natural Healing Show, we take good care of ourselves, we try to eat right, we try to exercise, we deal with our emotions, we are on a spiritual path, we take natural healing remedies, but there are times when we need to visit a medical doctor. What signs and symptoms did you experience before you were diagnosed with cancer?
Oh, goodness, I tell you, everything you've just mentioned, I was not. I did not look after my health. I was not spiritual or anything like that. I had, at the age of 46, I had a heart attack. This was back in 2011. And 4 or 5 months later, after just not getting better from the heart attack, and I visited the doctor again, and I said to the doctor, listen, you said I should be, up and running again, and I feel terrible. And that's basically how the cancer was discovered. It wasn't necessarily me feeling bad, of course, after the heart attack, but nothing else. There were no other symptoms. So from that point of view, it was really lucky, if I could call it that. I mean, we all know, or I now see it not as being lucky. I now see it as the universe sending me a message. But that's how it happened with me. It wasn't that certain people have horrific pain and stuff. I had pain as well. But here and there, but it wasn't because of something that I went to the doctor to have it looked at or anything like that.
Thank you for sharing that story. And for our audience, in my 10th book, Reading the Soul, I talk about a breakdown to a breakthrough. And sometimes an illness can be a transformational event for us, where we wake up and we go, wait a minute, maybe my work isn't as rewarding as I would like. Maybe my life needs to take a different direction. So as a result of having a heart attack and having cancer, will you share for our audience how you came about to create UK Health Radio?
Definitely. I mean, for me, I see it as a new start for me, as some people refer to it as becoming aware, etc., etc. There are many different ways of looking at it. For me, I think the best way to start with is to quote something, and that is the two most important days in every person's life. This is by Mark Twain, to be exact. Is the day you're born and the day you find out why. Well, this was the start of my journey to find out why. I'm not sure if you know this, Catherine, but I used to be a fashion photographer. And I thought I was very happy in that world. And I was, I mean, I really was, but this whole process showed me that it wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. So that was the beginning of my journey. As I mentioned before, I had the heart attack in 2011 in February. In June, I was then diagnosed with cancer for the first time. The first diagnosis was actually a very terrible time in my life. It really put me into a spin, this whole thing. It really just swept my feet from under me. It was just, I just had no, I had no vision, I had no plan, I had nothing. I just stumbled into radiotherapy, which was proposed. Ended up doing 2 sets of radiotherapy. The cancer went away. But during this whole time, I had this feeling, it's a very strange feeling of almost of passiveness. I had no duties. Nobody had said to me, Johann, you have to exercise or you don't have to exercise. You have to use this diet or don't diet, or, you know, there was nothing. My only duty was really to be there at the right time for the treatment. And I have to say, this really worried me the whole time. It was in the back of my mind the whole time, this absolutely not being part of the process whatsoever. I mean, and I had this feeling it's my health. This is me, you know, this is, but I had no part of it whatsoever. And then I was given the cancer clear. This was in October of the same year. But what stayed with me was this feeling, I call it helplessness, which is probably the incorrect way to describe it. But I had this feeling, you know, when things go over, things go back to normal. And they did by me as well, same lifestyle, same everything. But in the back of my mind, I knew that there was something not right. You know, something had to change somehow. In 2012, end of first quarter of 2012, during my first post-cancer screenings, I was told that the cancer had returned with a vengeance and had literally spread everywhere in my body. But the positive side of this, if I could put it that way, I know it sounds ridiculous, but was my reaction to the second diagnosis. My reaction was totally different. I remember sitting in my oncologist's office and she telling me the so-called bad news, and me thinking, and I can still hear the voice in the back of my head screaming at myself, it's not going to happen, you're not going to die. Because the second diagnosis was a terminal diagnosis. They basically said to me, we can't do anything anymore. Here, 12 months max, that's all you have. So that was basically the beginning of my new life, if I could put it that way. Yeah.
Very profound story. And, you know, one of the things that I talk about in my book, What is Healing, is that there's many definitions of healing. You can say healing is relief from suffering, but healing at its best is a transformational process.
Yes.
So with this second diagnosis, what steps did you take with the second diagnosis to go about recovering after being told that you had a terminal case?
before I get to that, you've just mentioned transformation. I have a saying. It's become. I have quite a few mantras, but this has become one of them. And that one is: if you're willing to do the transformation, you don't need to do the reincarnation. I love that. It just resonates for me, because it's just, if you're willing to make the changes now, you don't have to make them at a later stage. The changes I made after the second diagnosis didn't happen quickly. I got 12 months to live, was basically sent home. I went home, made the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life, not telling my family about the terminal diagnosis. I mean, they knew about the cancer, and I did mention that it had returned, but I didn't tell them about the terminal side of things, which really now in retrospect was a major mistake. I went home. I thought to myself, okay, Johann, nobody's going to fight for your life like you are. So you've done one option. It worked temporarily. It stopped working now. So now go and find another option or options. I was totally open by this stage to whatever could come my way or would come my way. And where did I go? There where everybody says you shouldn't go, the internet. I literally, well, I had nowhere else. I had nothing. There were, we're talking about 10, 11 years ago now. So, 9, 10 years ago. So there was very little out there. It's not like today. There's so much more about well-being and wellness and diet and nutrition and all this stuff, So all I did was I went to the internet and started researching. And about 7 months, that's why I said it wasn't a quick thing. About 7 months into my allotted 12, I read a sentence in the internet. And this sentence is just a short little sentence. It said, cancer cannot survive in an oxygenated alkaline cellular environment. Now, this was discovered by a Dr. Otto Warburg, a German biochemist. And he actually won a Nobel Prize for this discovery in 1931. And for me at that stage of my life and mindset and everything, it was perfect, because I've always been a very scientific orientated person, then more than now, but especially then. So I thought, Nobel Prize, nothing more scientific than that, And as I read the sentence, it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I have to tell you this because it's really quite important, actually. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep. I read the sentence, and as I read it, I knew instinctively that this was it. Like all the lights went on in my head. I knew it immediately. I actually woke my wife, Rafaela, at 2 in the morning, and I literally said to her, Rafaela, I have found a way not to die. Mm. And it just gave me what I needed. There's it was the beginning of a huge mind shift that I went through quite soon after, from then onwards, but it happened quite quickly. I went through a mind shift that I realized, they say if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And this is what happened to me. I went through this mind shift. I realized that the cancer wasn't the cause of my illness. It was merely a symptom of a sick body. And that, for me, with that scientific orientation, cause and effect. You change the cause, you will change the effect. I mean, that's a natural law. That's how it is. There's no getting around that. And that was the beginning of my, I call it transformation, because that morning, as I said, I woke my wife at 2. That morning at 8 o'clock, we started researching this. And the first thing we stumbled upon was nutrition. Alkalizing your body, not your blood, as I'm sure you know, you can't change the the pH of your blood, but you can change the pH in your cells. And this was it, what this was about. So I basically went from a normal diet, well, to be honest, I ate meat 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for that matter. I literally overnight became a vegetarian. And then as we progressed, as we researched, and my wife and myself, as we did, that's Rafaela and myself, we optimized all the time, and then became a vegan, and then later on an alkaline vegan. So and today as well, up to date, I still optimize my diet, my lifestyle. Whenever I find something that I think could help it, I try it, I experiment with it, see if it works, etc. So I'm still an alkaline vegan, and will be for the rest of my life, that I'm positive of. So that was literally the beginning of it. But I also always say we are what we eat, but only up to 50%. The other 50% is what we think. And that side of the transformation happened slowly. And as I mentioned just now, a couple of minutes ago, it's still ongoing. I still search for ways to optimize not only my nutrition, but my lifestyle, my awareness on so many things on a daily basis.
What inspiring information. And now we are going to take a moment for a word from our sponsor. So hang in there and we'll be right back. So Johann Ilgenfritz, so when you got this second diagnosis, with the medical doctors saying, okay, this time it's terminal, we give you 12 months, and then you began researching, and then you found out about changing the cellular health. And I really appreciate you saying that, because as a medical intuitive healer, I always say you can only be as healthy as you are at the cellular level. Mm-hmm. And that is so critical. So we never really think about what's happening with the cells in our body. What natural healing remedies did you find most helpful for your recovery? So here we are at the Natural Healing Show. We'd like to hear your wisdom and your personal secrets.
It's actually, it's not a secret. It's very old. Let food be your medicine and your medicine be food. Hippocrates, if I'm not incorrect, that is what I used. I used nothing else. I did supplement, and I still do supplement with the papaya supplement, but that is, it was just as a support. I really believed in it. So to such an extent, as I said, in that little sentence, it says oxygenated alkaline cellular environment. And the oxygen part of it, in other words, sport, physical exercise, is also extremely important to me. But like, as in remedies, they weren't really anything, as I said, except for alkaline nutrition. A lot of mental and emotional remedies, yes. Physical remedies, running. I run. I tried yoga. I know you're a yoga specialist as well. I'm so sorry, Catherine, but it just didn't work for me.
It's okay.
It really didn't. I don't know why it doesn't work for me. It doesn't. I don't enjoy it. So I started running. I play tennis, but running is my way of oxygenating my body. And yeah, actually ran my first half marathon in September last year. So yeah, not too bad for 58 years old, I thought. At that
stage. Johann, I used to run, and I ran from the period when I was in university till I don't know, through my mid-30s, but I didn't take care of my feet. So I damaged my feet by being too cheap to buy good sneakers. And so I have, at age 62, I have a Morton's neuroma on my left foot. Yeah. So I can walk, but I really shouldn't be running. So
yeah, no, absolutely. You've got to do what suits you as well, what resonates with you and your body and the feeling it gives you and everything else. I mean, I've even extended. Remember, before I mentioned what you think, and maybe this is part of remedies. People, I always think of remedies as something you take, but the mental side of this whole journey of mine is probably also a remedy. Meditation plays a huge role in my daily routine, and I've even managed to extend my meditation into my running. So I use the running to work on things, to sculpture things, or not to think at all. It depends on how, in what space of frame of mind I am at that point in time. And I do a lot of running. I run every second day. I run 16, 18 kilometers. So it's quite a big chunk of time. It's 1.5 to 2 hours every second day that I spend running, over and above the meditation time, etc. So yeah, very important, important mental remedy, if I could say that. And not only I investigated breathing quite well. I partake in quite a few breathing exercises from Wim Hof, etc. Not only from him, but him being one of them. So yeah, I suppose those are all remedies that that we use to achieve what the goals we set.
And this is a good time for me to mention that my 9th book, The Little Book of Breathwork, during the pandemic, I've given it away for free to people in 17 different countries. And if you would like a copy of The Little Book of Breathwork, just send me an email, Catherine@catherinecarrigan.com, and I'll send you the ebook for free. It includes a little routine that I call 8 minutes to inner peace that cuts anxiety in half in about 8 minutes. It's very powerful, and as well as directions on hand mudras that you can use to shift the energy in your body. So breath work, mudras, and affirmations that will shift your inner being and oxygenate your body. So Johann Ilgenfritz, for our audience, so share us the rest of the story. So you started researching, obviously you got well. At what point did your medical doctor declare you cancer-free? And then what happened? Share us what happened with your career as a result.
Okay. The one remedy I didn't mention, just quickly, is stress. I probably have more stress now than ever before. I think the important thing to know is that you can handle stress. You must look at what is your main source of stress, and then work out a way to deal with it. In my case, I did exactly that. I looked into it, I researched it, and I realized that it was time pressure. As a photographer, especially as a fashion photographer, you're always under the gun. You know, you're always under time pressure. So I looked at how I could change that, and I found a way. I lengthened my day. I now get up really early in the morning to give me enough time to do what I need to do during the day without feeling that intense pressure. You know, that pressure you get when you feel, oh goodness, I can't breathe. That pressure I don't have anymore. It's all gone. So sorry, I just wanted to put that in there because it's such an important part of the remedies. I've got a new word for that. So sorry, Catherine, could you just repeat your question?
Oh, good. So share with us, what's the new word that you have?
No, I meant the remedy for remedy is not only something you take, but something, a remedy could also be your mental state, your emotional state, and everything else. Everything you use to transformate.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And share with us, so you, at what point after starting these natural remedies, did you go to the medical doctor and he declared you were cancer free? And then this is second question, how did your career start to change?
Yeah, it's very important. This part of my life all happened in Germany. I was still living in Germany at that time. I'm in London now, but at the beginning of my journey, I was still in Germany. I was in Germany. I stayed in the system to be able to be tested. About 4 to 6 weeks after I became, let's say, a vegan. I can't remember exactly at what stage it was, but about 4 to 6 weeks into my journey, I realized that whatever I was doing was working, because I had an energy surge that I'd never felt before. I explain it in this manner. I always say to most people, it was probably nothing than a 2-foot swell, but for me, it was like surfing a tsunami at that stage. And this really solidified my belief in what I was doing was working and was going to work. The cancer-free completely, I only got 2.5 years later, so this isn't a quick fix. But as the weeks and the months progressed, I just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And 2.5 years later, I was finally given the cancer-free. But it was the first thing, and it's so important to find that one thing that actually that gives you the feeling of whatever you are doing is working, is going in the right direction. And that was an amazing feeling. And that stage, that very early stage, was actually the birth of UK Health Radio, because it was the birth of, you mustn't forget, this was 7 months into my, as I said, allotted 12 months, really not well at this point when all this started, when all this took place. Give you an idea, the morning I read that short sentence that I spoke about earlier, it took me 20 minutes to walk up 3 flights of stairs, just to give you an idea of my medical state at that time. Not good at all, like really bad. So yeah, that was it. And this time was basically the birth. Once I felt, wow, whatever I'm doing is working. It was the birth of UK Health Radio. I had been through 7 months of the darkest time in my life, looking at information on the internet. I'm sure you can support me on this, that some of the information on the internet is so dark, is so terrible, that I don't actually know how people get through it, to be quite honest. I don't know how I got through it. I explained it to my wife in this manner. I mean, through my story, you know, I'm not, and I don't mean it in this sense, I'm not suicidal, but I tried to explain it to my wife. I said to her, I don't know why I didn't just jump out the window. Why am I going through all this nonsense? You know, but might as well just end it quickly. It was just a way of trying to explain it to Rafaela of what I was going through, this information I was reading, this dark stuff all the time. And then I got this idea to create a portal for people in my situation. Because I'd been through the internet, because I'd done all that, I knew that there wasn't one specific portal, one place where you could go and find information. In the beginning, it was, I thought, only for cancer. That's how it started. That's how UK Health Radio started. Very soon after the main idea, it just sort of happened all by itself. I contacted Robert Scott Bell, I'm sure you know Robert Scott Bell in the States. I wrote to his website, and Robert actually answered me personally and helped me with the cancer. And I mentioned, during this time, I got the idea for a radio. Nobody knows why radio. I've never been involved in radio, but radio for me has always been a very personal medium. It's not like television. When a person, a presenter can speak to you personally via radio. I always get that feeling with radio that I can be it feels as if I'm the only one that person is speaking to. That was the reason why I thought radio, because it was such a personal medium. And then, and that's how it started. I spoke to Robert about this idea, this wonderful idea I had about a radio station. And he said to me, listen, Johann, do you have content? And I said, no, nothing. As you know, I'm just starting out. And he said, I'll give you my show. And luckily, Robert has a daily show, a 2-hour show. And that's what we started UK Health Radio with. We just put it on and put it in a loop, and we let it run for 24 hours, luckily, daily. So otherwise it would have become quite tedious, but that's how we started. It's, as I said, it was part of my journey also. I started UK Health Radio. I still had cancer when I started it, on the wonkiest website you've ever seen in your life. I joke to myself, I call it Wonder Radio. Wonder how the hell we ever got it up and running. That's literally how it, why. And for the first 6 months, literally 6 months, we had 2 listeners. And I was the one, and I think, I'm positive, but it hasn't been, she's never said yes, but I think the other one was Rafaela. So, but she's never admitted to that. But yeah, and that's how we started it. And that's what I meant in the beginning with the day you're born and the day you find out why. I literally found my real true purpose, which of course gave me so much more energy and more will to live and to get well and to do this properly and to create this platform on a big scale. So it all just fed hand in hand with me getting better, etc. And that's basically how UK Health Radio originated and was started.
What an inspiring message. And now we are going to take a short break and listen for a message from one of our sponsors. And Johann Ilgenfritz, well, I'm personally thankful for you because this show, I think, is something like the 224th show that I've done for the Natural Healing Show. And Yara Growenti originated the show, and I'm the author of so many books, and Yara kept interviewing me, and then she got tired of running the show, and then she was looking for someone to take over it, and I said, I'll do it. And I think she had interviewed me 7 times because of all my books. I've published 10 books. So I've now run the Natural Healing Show for 4.5 years, and according to your statistics, we have 47,000 listeners every week from all over the world. So it's such a privilege. Now, Johann Ilgenfritz, as you know, all illness occurs on all 5 levels of a person, not just physical, but also our energetic system, our emotions, our thoughts, and our spirits. When you were suffering from cancer, what did you go through on all 5 levels? So we've been talking about this transformation that has occurred that's led to your excellent health and this wonderful career where you get to help people. But as you kind of look back and reflect, what did you see happening on all 5 levels of you as you were going through your recovery process?
Yes, definitely. It does happen on all levels. Physical, in my case, the physical first, the actual, the cancer itself, etc. And then basically just what almost naturally happened to me, that followed, the lifestyle changes, the emotional health, the spiritual health, and all those that we've actually just been speaking about. I think one of the most important things that I've learned myself is many people in my case, when faced with serious illnesses, etc., or not even only illnesses, serious life happenings, deaths, grieving, that kind of stuff. It's all in one. I think the most important lesson I learned or taught myself, or however you want to refer to it, is I don't see anything, I don't give up anything. I don't say to myself, oh, now I've got to give up cheese, or now I've got to give up meat, or now I see it as making space for something new. And that has really, really helped me such a lot. And this is on all levels. It's on spiritual level, it's on physical level, of course, as well. Very important, probably mostly on a physical level, but intellectually, and emotionally, and all other levels as well. I see it as information sent to me by the universe. So I first of all try and be really aware of everything that's coming my way, not to miss anything, because believe me, we miss so much by just blundering through life, blundering through your day, not looking out for certain things. We all ask for things, and then that's it. We think it's just going to happen. When you ask for something, you have to put out your senses to see what's coming your way, to see the things you have asked for, because they are coming. You've just got to look out for them. And so even on that level, I think making place for something new is the only way to look at life. Actually, is not it's not giving up. It's not negative. It's all positive. It's all moving forward. I think that's the main thing. Moving forward, trying to advance, trying to get better, trying to run better, work better, however you, in whichever situation you put it, it's applicable.
That is wonderful insights. Now, Johann Ilgenfritz, many people who are listening to this broadcast may have a family member or a loved one who's suffering from cancer. Yes. If a family member or loved one is suffering from cancer, how do you think, having gone through this, we can best support them?
Okay. Before I answer that, I just want to mention one thing to everybody that's listening. I'm not a health professional. I'm an ex-photographer that started a radio station. I'm telling you my story and my thoughts and my opinions only. I do help a lot of people going through difficult situations, especially in the cancer area. And I think that's why I think it's such a brilliant question, Catherine. You've got to support them first. And if you're the one with cancer, don't make the mistake that I made and not tell anybody about it. Tell as many people as you can, because you need their support. You can't do this by yourself. You might think you can, but you can't. You need energy. You need people's help. You need people's input. Whether you accept it or not, that's entirely a different story, but you need information. You need a constant flow of love, of energy, of health, of information, etc., 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 which basically is what we've created with UK Health Radio, as you know, Catherine. But over and above that, it's just so important. Even supporting people in their ways is positive. Not saying what you're doing is wrong, do this. It's like me saying to somebody, don't take all those meds, change your diet. If that's not if that's not their reality, you're not going to reach them. You're not going to get through to them. Support them. If they are taking medicine, if they are going, and I'm not saying don't do radiotherapy, please, please, please don't misunderstand me what I'm saying here, but any other therapy for that matter, chemo, etc. I'm not saying don't do it, please. But if they do choose that route, don't say to them, no, that's not good, or don't do that. Look at what you can help to support them. Look at the supplements that you can tell them about that will increase their platelet counts, that will help the chemotherapy become more effective, that kind of thing. It's so, so, so important. You can't force your ideas or your ways onto people. Support them in their world, in their reality. And then you, by all means, bring in whatever you think would be useful for them and can help them. Integrative, I think that is the word that so many people miss in today's health world, is integrative. You know, I always say to people, when you open your closet, you don't have a whole closet full of only one make of clothes. And they say, no, of course not. Then I go, so why do you do that with health? Why don't you open the world of health in front of you and choose and take and use what is going to be good for you? You know, and that's a simple way of trying to explain it. It's very important to support them with everything they go through. And then, as I said, use that integrative approach. Bring in yoga, bring in meditation, bring in fasting. That's another thing I do very rigorously, is intermittent fasting. Bring all the information that you either have an experience or have heard works, bring it all in, but in the same direction as that person is going. That's the most important thing, because otherwise you're going to break that connection between you and that person. And that's only negative. There's nothing about that that's positive, nothing. Not from a physical, emotional, spiritual, or any other, on any other level.
Now, Johann, as you know, when we know better, we do better.
Yeah.
As you look back on your life, you know, the pre-cancer life, are there certain things you would never do now that you did before you were diagnosed?
Almost everything. There was really a bit of a bad boy, I have to admit, I think in many senses, especially when it comes to nutrition and lifestyle. I joke, I say now I go to bed, I rise in the mornings where as a photographer I used to go to bed. Not quite as bad. I rise at 4 in the morning. I didn't go to bed at 4 in the mornings, but very similar. Many things. My transformation has literally been almost everything. I've literally taken my life, looked at every aspect of it and changed it, or I'm busy changing it. This is far from perfect. My life is far from perfect. But yeah, that definitely it's cause and effect. That's what it is, and it's you can't do it all in one go, and you have to find a way to keep all the balls in the air. I think that is one of the most difficult parts. You know, you can change one thing and you can keep that one thing changed, but once you start with more things and you've got 3 or 4 or 5 balls in the air, it gets difficult, and that it takes quite a lot of discipline, to be very honest with you. The bottom line, I think in my case, is discipline, because it's not easy. It's easy to implement, but it's not easy to continue with something when you find it's working for you, especially when there were 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 of these aspects of health, of life that you are that you've changed, that you're implementing.
So Johann Ilgenfritz, founder and CEO of UK Health Radio, final question for our audience. As you know, cancer can be a quite painful illness.
Yes.
And also, as you know, our thoughts and beliefs greatly affect our healing process. Yeah. How can a person suffering from cancer treatment stay positive despite the physical pain they may be experiencing?
I can summarize in one word, and that's belief. I was very lucky. I had pain, but not continuously. The sections I had pain was excruciating, but it wasn't like some other people go through is continuous years of pain. I had no experience in that. But belief, you have to believe, first of all, in yourself. You have to believe in the direction you have gone into, as I mentioned before, with the supporting, very important, because if you don't believe in it, how can you trust in it? How can you see yourself coming out the other side as healthy? You can't. So very important. And see if you can't incorporate it into a purpose. Doesn't have to be your life's purpose, but it can be a purpose for staying alive for children, staying alive for spouses, staying alive, even if it's arbitrary, even going on your next holiday. It doesn't matter what you use. Honestly, it doesn't. What you use is absolutely immaterial as long as you strive for it and as long as you celebrate it when you get there. I think it's so important. I tended not to just to move on to the next thing. I still do it, even with UK Health Radio. We reached 1 million people and I didn't celebrate it. We had 1 million listeners all over the world and there was no celebration. I was thinking, yes, but we've got to reach the 2 million. You've got to start celebrating, and you've got to celebrate it. You've got to acknowledge it to yourself, that you yourself have actually, and I'm not talking about popping champagne and parties and stuff, celebration. I'm talking about acknowledgement. Acknowledge it to yourself. Give yourself that pat on the back. Well done. You've gotten through your first radiotherapy or whatever. I honestly think that's the way to do it. If you have to do medicine, do it, but be careful. Get off it as soon as you can, as soon as you don't need it anymore. Be realistic, be responsible. And it all goes hand in hand. That responsibility goes with acknowledgement, goes together with purpose and everything else. So it's very difficult to isolate one thing. It's all a mixture of quite a few things, but it's all in there and it's all really important. I hope that answers the question, because it is a difficult one for me. For me, those times of excruciating pain, as I said, that's how I got through it, was through what I've just mentioned, the purpose, the acknowledgement, the doing it for not only yourself, of course, most importantly, but also for other things, other people, other goals you want to reach, etc.
You've been listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Our guest today, sharing his wonderful information about how to transform from cancer, has been the founder and CEO of UK Health Radio, Johann Ilgenfritz. You can find out more about Johann, and who now has 1.2 million listeners all over the world as a result of this incredible transformation. You can find out more at ukhealthradio.com, listen to our shows, read Health Triangle magazine, And remember that all healing at its root is a transformational process. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.